CNN actually proved something I've been saying for a little while. Now, this could sound so strange. Just like I said about Mitt Romney, I say about Kamala Harris, she doesn't exist. See, there really was no Mitt Romney. It was one of the greatest psyops in history. Mitt Romney, the guy who invented Romneycare, which became Obamacare, then tried to run against Obamacare but didn't know how. So when President Obama, during a debate, said about his plan, if so bad, Mitt, why the AARP endorse it? And there stood fakery himself, the guy alleged to be Mitt Romney, flat-footed, unable to say a thing. When what he could have said is this: Mr. President, why did the AARP ask for a waiver so they didn't have to follow Obamacare? Because that's what the AARP did. Mitt Romney once was told by a reporter, right-wing conservatives say you're not particularly conservative. You know what his response was? He said, I'm a severe conservative. Severe. Have you ever met anyone in the history of your life who's a conservative and says, actually, I'm a severe conservative. I'm severely conservative. No one says that. Mitt Romney thinks that way. Well, that is the product labeled Mitt Romney. Now, certainly there's a guy who was born, given the name Mitt Romney. There's a meat suit Mitt Romney wears, but there is no actual Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is whatever Mitt Romney must be on that day to have what the meat suit Mitt Romney wants. He openly hated President Trump until it was time for dinner to sit down and perhaps be Secretary of State. Then he went to dinner because he could have been Secretary of State. And then when he wasn't Secretary of State, his meat suit said, go back at Trump because he didn't give you the gig. Kamala Harris does not exist, and CNN proved it. And we're in a battle as we are on this last day before the election to find any way we can to communicate with people who might be persuadable. One line of communication I have is this: for whom are you voting? No, I mean, for whom are you voting? At least we're not having to strap on weapons and kit and go to physical war, right? That would be something I don't want to do. Thank God for people like my friend Tim Cruikshank, founder and CEO of Bone Frog Coffee, and now Bone Frog Cellars. Now, Bone Frog Cellars is not new. I just make a comparison because most of you know Bone Frog Coffee, but we haven't been talking about Bone Frog Cellars because we've not really been able to. There's been supply chain issues and then some tech issues. That doesn't mean the wine hasn't been being made. It has. We tried a 2015 vintage at our house, Merlot and Cabernet. Now, when I say we, I mean that not to involve me. I don't drink wine. I don't care for the taste of it. And Tim knew this. My wife likes it. My daughter enjoys it. Some of my friends love wine. They collect it. They're experts on it. They travel the world. And when they do travel the world, they always go try the wines and tell us about it. We've got video after video of them. We're trying wine in Israel. We're trying wine in Italy. We're trying wine in France and Germany, Australia. So they were, to me, the snob people. No offense. I love my friends. But they were the wine snobs. And it passed their testing method. In fact, my friend said that he loved it. He was thrilled. He was surprised that he liked the Merlot more than the Cabernet, and Tom isn't a guy easily surprised, not about foods. So you can try this wine. Maybe this is something for Thanksgiving. Every label has the bone frog on it. It's the insignia of a fallen SEAL who gave his life for this country. Every bottle says on it, God, Country, Team, because that's the way Tim lives. And of course, 10% of proceeds go to the Navy SEAL Foundation. So go right now to bonefrogsellers.com/Todd. Get 10% off the wines there. It's bonefrogsellers.com/Todd. I can't believe this came from CNN, but it did. It shows that Kamala Harris is running very different ads on her stance on the war in Gaza, depending on the market. Occasionally, reporting makes it on to CNN.
Tonight, mixed messages. A K-file investigation this hour finds Kamala Harris is targeting crucial battleground voters with vastly different messages on Gaza and Israel. This ad is running in Michigan, which has the largest Arab population in America.
What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering and I will not be silent.
All right, well, it's a very different story for an ad in Pennsylvania targeting Jewish voters.
Let me be clear. I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7.
Different message. Andrew Kaczynski is out front now. So, Andrew, those obviously do sound starkly different, to say the least. Tell me more about what you found.
Yeah, that's right. And look, this really illustrates the sort of fine line that the Harris campaign is trying to walk here in the closing weeks, closing days of this campaign on the issue of Israel. Here you have two entirely different constituencies, and they are getting two entirely different messages. There are often times these constituencies have very opposing views on this. If you are a Jewish person in Pennsylvania, you saw that ad that you're getting. You are getting that ad that talks about how strong she is in Israel. If you're a Muslim voter in Michigan, you are getting that ad on Facebook that's talking about how she won't be silent on the issue of Gaza. Now, what's really interesting here is that ad, the one that's going to Jewish voters in Pennsylvania. Now, it sort of sounds like those two clips of her talking about Israel are together, but they actually cut part of it out. Take a listen to what they cut.
What has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating. President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
But not a state. Get it? Even as they're coming back to say, here's the context, and God bless them for doing it. Context is important. She doesn't say the third state solution, the so-called Palestinian state solution, which interestingly would not take any land from the Arab states, just from Israel. So wherever she goes, Kamala Harris becomes something that she can be poured into. She's liquid, she's gas, she doesn't exist. She's animated by her Christian faith, which is why she accepted having an open Satanist running the monkeypox response in our nation's capital. She's animated by her faith in Jesus Christ, which is why she said at a rally that the name of Jesus Christ does not belong at her rallies. She's animated by a need to protect women and children, which is why she advocates for children to be killed at any stage of gestation, even after the birth. Well, I mean, that's what late-term abortions prevent, is the birth of an otherwise viable baby. And she openly pushes for an executive order in the White House that would ban parents from seeking psychiatric treatment for their kids and would instead force them to accept their kids having dangerous medical interventions with wrong sex hormones and wrong sex surgeries. There is no Kamala Harris. There's a series of words on a teleprompter. And the question is this: if you're voting for her, which one are you getting? I would say you're getting this. Someone who'd do whatever is necessary at any time to have more power, including stepping in your face. God warned us about people like this. It's part of our fallen state. He told the prophet Samuel to warn us about kings, and in her case, queens. They'll take your crops and your wines and your kids, your daughters for concubines, your boys for armies. Well, this is where we're at. May God protect us from a Kamala Harris regime. Well, let me say that again. From a regime of whoever's actually running Kamala Harris.